or two. Okay. All right, good. I don't have the chat turned off, but I'm going to ask for everybody to refrain from using it until after the transmission, because I won't be accepting any questions from those of you that are joining. What I do for the global transmissions, I do that for the private study groups where I do the Archangel Michael kind of messages that come through in the private study groups that I lead on a monthly basis. There's going to be one of those at the end of this month where people can, who are a part of the study group, can ask questions, because it can be sometimes a lot of people that joins. I have no idea how many people are going to join tonight because I didn't actually do any registrations for this evening. I just sent out the login information for whoever wanted to use it, because this was very spontaneous. But like I said, at the end, we can, I'll invite you all to use the chat to make comments, ask questions at the end, say goodbye, just any kind of greetings you want to give, that type of situation. Yeah, so I'm just gonna ask people to refrain from using the chat right now, because it gets to be a little bit much when there's a lot of people on, and it gets to be a little bit distracting for me. So we can just use it at the end, and we can even introduce ourselves and stuff at the end as well. I'm going to do a very brief introduction this evening. Like I said, I'm Reverend Anna Jones. I think most of you know me to some amount, some degree, because I just sent this out for the people who are currently on my email list and didn't get a chance to share it with anybody else. But I did invite you to invite your friends or your family, or just kind of spread it around. So there might be some of you who are new and not familiar with my work. And I have a website, and that website is Anna, A-N-A, Jones, online.com. So AnnaJonesOnline.com is where you can go to learn more about me if you're not familiar with me and not familiar with my work. In fact, there's an interview up there that I did for the Mystic Summit that I participated in a couple of years ago, and that really kind of gives you an overview of the type of mystic work that I do as a modern day mystic, and it gives you an overview of the work that I do as an interfaith minister. Been an interfaith minister since 1993, and it kind of goes much more into depth about that, and then of course much more into depth about being a modern day mystic, which I consider myself to be and have been for my whole life. The connection that I have with the angelic realm has been something that I have felt present in my life always, and I started receiving messages from the angelic realm at a very young age in my childhood. First, it was just all for me personally, and I was only able to really share it with my great-grandmother who raised me. But then it became something that, as I got older, began to be something that was coming through for other people as well. When I started joining a youth group that did a full-on charismatic experience of laying on of hands, healing, and that just opened up for 4 years or 3.5 years. It opened up a whole bunch of the ability to kind of see energy. I didn't have the word energy at that time. Clairaudience of receiving, kind of hearing the angels giving me a message and then asking me to pass that on to someone else. Seeing more of them in my dreams, seeing more of them kind of reveal themselves also energetically, light-wise, etc. And I began giving those messages to other people at the age of 14. And at first it was just a sentence or two, or even a word or a phrase that would be during the healings themselves. And it would maybe mean something or not, but later on it may come to have meant, a lot of times it came to mean something even later on, even if it didn't make that much sense initially. And then I was just guided and given instruction to develop the ability to communicate with the angels to the point in which I have developed it today. I am a medium, but specifically my gifts are being associated with the angelic realm specifically. However, that doesn't mean that there aren't other like ascended masters that I have also been able to channel as a medium. Spirit guides, those who crossed over and become spirit guides even, but that's not the work that I specialize in. The work that I specialize in with my mediumship ability is the work with these angelic communications. And so I've done a lot with that over the years because I became dedicated to it in 1990, started doing all of the work that I do today professionally in 1990, the work that I do with angelic healing, the work that I do with these angelic messages for individuals is primarily how it began. And the work that I do with workshops and ceremony and even retreats, that all started in the 1990s. In the early 1990s, when I opened my first healing center in 1990 was the year that I opened my first healing center. So there have been many, many, many messages that they've given me. The first group session that I led was even before I went into it full time in 1987. And in 1987, there was something called the harmonic convergence. For those of you who aren't old enough to know what it was a time in which things were believed to be shifting quite dramatically, and the beginning of a whole other stage or phase of a powerful shift that was taking place. And then after that major shift, that was the first time I really got involved in planetary healing work, really got involved with starting to do like a group meditation, bringing together my first group circle, and then again starting to then do it professionally 3 years later. And then in 1992, I led an event that was part of, I was just a local person in a part of a global event that was for the 11/11 and the opening activation, so to speak, for the 11/11 globally. And it was on January 11th, 1992, that this event took place. And prior to that, I don't believe I've even done research into this. I don't believe that there's any that there's any such events around 11/11 that people have led or had facilitated. Since that time, however, there has been many, and since modern day times, especially since 2012. There has been many, 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 right? In fact, tonight, some people emailed me and said that they were already registered to participate in some other online events that were happening this evening on 11/11. And so there was like competing events, and because I got the word out about this late, because I actually didn't know that I was even going to be doing this until just yesterday. This is something that was just spontaneous, spur of the moment request from Archangel Michael specifically. I tend to only do these global transmissions, the ones that I kind of put out collectively and that he's energetically sending out collectively. I tend to only do them when he's requesting them. And so he requested to do this evening. So there's many events going on now for this particular 11/11. But back then in 1992, the whole intention as to why these groups were gathering around the world, and there was a channel at the time. Her name was Solara. For anybody who may know or who may be familiar with Solara's work. Who had channeled a lot of information about that, right? About the 11/11 and the opening of that gateway, and that we were all co-creating that. Like we were all co-creating it, and that people around that time period were having all kinds of like signs and synchronicities, and everybody was just starting to communicate with each other about, hey, are you seeing 11/11 on your clocks? Are you seeing it? Is that number synchronicity coming up for you a lot? And the answer to that question was a lot of people were seeing it, right? And then it's just been more and more and more. And I think partly also the awareness has been raised about that too. So ever since kind of the shifts that have been starting to happen more and more. In 1992 also, we entered into the last phase of the Mayan calendar, and a whole other like galactic cycle that was a part of that was completing at that time, that truly there was sacred cosmology and astronomical events associated with that 20-year cycle that last cycle ended in December 21st, 2012. And then a lot of people started having more and more 11/11 experiences after the completion of that 26,000-year cycle and that 5,125-year cycle that ended on December 21st, 2012. I did major like transmissions during that time period, leading up to that time period. I dedicated, many, many years and months, kind of helping to kind of prepare us for that great shift of the ages that was beginning, where literally we were shifting into a totally other different energy field. Even the long count calendar, some of the Mayan elders that were speaking of it believed that we were even entering into a whole different part of where our solar systems galactic cluster, like our solar system moves through the galaxy and the galaxy moves through the galactic cluster, that we were moving into a whole other phase and stage and place of that around that December 21st, 2012. Very, very powerful time. And that from that point in time, a whole new 26,000 year cycle would begin, and a whole new period of a time of prophecy would begin as well. And so I've been a student of prophecy for many, many years. As an interfaith minister, I've studied prophecies from all of the world religions and many of the indigenous traditions, and not just prophecy, but I also find that creation myths and creation stories tie in very well as well. And actually, we really can't even understand prophecy very well without actually looking at the whole and the entirety of even some of the creation myths and stories. So, yeah, so this is kind of like an introduction to kind of give you an understanding of my background with 1111, my background with many of the things that are very popular topics now, right? Like when I was doing a lot of this work, a lot of these things weren't very heard of, right? A lot of these things weren't even very popular topics like they are now. And so I feel like I continue to be dedicated to help make sure that as a conscious co-creator on my part, just anything I can do as my little role that I'm playing as a conscious co-creator to help serve the angelic mission of helping to continue to kind of like guide us and instruct us through these times of like very large change and transformation. Archangel Michael guiding much of my channeling work throughout a lot of that, but he's not the only angel or archangel that has been coming through for that. But for the global transmissions, he has been. And there's been many global transmissions. There's actually some of them that are currently up on my Celestial Voice podcast. If you're not aware of it, I highly encourage you to go listen to some of those messages. They're not all there. They're not all messages from the 1990s, or not all messages from 2012 or anything, but there have been more recent years. There's messages that are on there from more recent years. I'd say, there's definitely one or two on there from 2012. There's been definitely more from like 2018, 2017, 2018, up until modern times, current day. And this particular recording that I'm making right now will also be put on the Celestial Voice podcast. And the podcast is audio only, except for on YouTube. I did just create a Celestial Voice podcast YouTube channel. There's two of the most recent podcasts, two of the most recent messages from this year. I believe it was the spring equinox of this year and the summer solstice of this year that are the two most recent messages that have been put on that YouTube channel for Celestial Voice podcast. But all of them are on the iTunes page or my AnnaJonesOnline.com page, and all of the information has been extremely helpful, very, very accurate, etc. So it feels to me as a medium, as an empath, it feels to me as if and as if everyone could be benefited now at this time, at this big turning point that it feels like we all feel like we're at. That at this big turning point that we receive some additional guidance, which I was hoping for and asking for, but again, it has to be his choice and his decision as to whether or not he wants to do these global transmissions. So yesterday, just kind of out of the blue, he said that he wanted to. And as far as any information I got about like why does he want to, it has to do with our oneness. So I usually create questions that I feel like to benefit all of us to know. And, I'll create those questions based on things happening, but also I'll create those questions based on just intuitions or clairaudient messages that I've been getting too. And so the clairaudient message that I got to do this transmission today was also when I asked back a question and back in return of like, why, is there a reason, is there a particular theme? The oneness tends to be the theme, and so I'll put out questions as I kind of go along through this introduction. So one of the questions that I have, Archangel Michael, is, could he please speak to us or say to us anything that he wants to explain regarding the message that he gave us, the message that he gave me yesterday regarding our oneness with each other. If you think about 1111, it's 4 ones, right? 4, 1. It's for the one. It's 4, 1, for the one. And it's 1, 1, 1, 1. That number is for the one and for our oneness. And when we speak about a portal or a gateway or something like that opening, I do believe it is associated with this passageway, this new passageway that began in 2012, and that we, started entering into 87, 92, these kind of different time periods of like big shifts where these prophecies and these ancient indigenous wisdom pointed to. I do believe that it is associated with some of the greater shift associated with that, the 1111 is. But as far as a cosmological event that happens on the man-made calendar system every year on the man-made Gregorian calendar of 1111, he says that what that is something that we co-create. This has come through in other messages that I've channeled, is that we open portals. Like, we have the ability to open conscious portals and conscious gateways through our collective co-creative ability. And so we literally see those numbers now. We see them on a calendar like we are today, and we see them as a time to, like, unite our energy and be in that unity consciousness and be doing spiritual work and be doing spiritual practices, so that that unity, that oneness that we have, it opens the portal, right? Like, it opens the gateway. This is what he's explained before. Because as far as the date on the Gregorian calendar, the calendar created by Pope Gregory, there's nothing significantly going on astronomically. There's nothing significantly going on cosmologically, other than this kind of bigger thing that I'm speaking of. There's nothing significantly going on astrologically. Every year it seems there's something going on different on the astrological calendar of this date, on this Gregorian calendar date that we call 9/11 or November 11th. But what's interesting is it now everything shifted from being January 11th, when there would be celebrations of it, January 11th, into November the 11th, because we see the number like triggers the awakening, it triggers the synchronicity, it triggers us into that unity consciousness. And so when he said that he wanted to speak to us about our oneness, and he wanted to speak to us about unity consciousness, that's why I'm putting together some of the questions that I'm asking. So what is it that he would like to say regarding that oneness, that collective oneness that we share, and what is it that he would like to reveal or say to us about unity consciousness? I do know that in some of the other transmissions, you'll find one podcast on the Celestial Voice podcast. You'll find one. I don't know what the number is right offhand, but I do know that it's called Unity Consciousness. And he speaks about unity as being a virtue, actually. And he speaks about the virtues as being something that we have to use as co-creators, to co-create with in this reality. And he just recently, just last week, I channeled a message from him in which he was saying, we need the virtues more than ever. We need to be using the virtues more than ever to co-create with. And he's listed several virtues. And so one of the questions that I would like to ask him is like the virtue of unity. How does it apply? How does it apply to so much of the transformation that's happening in our world, of which some people feel thrilled about and some people feel just intense fear about? And how does it apply in the situations that are changing? And how do we apply the virtues? And how do we continue to be the co-creators that we are and that we're meant to be in very unknown, changing kinds of situations, and facing a lot of what feels big to us and feels collectively unknown to us. So even with even with those who are celebrating, there's unknown. Even with those who are experiencing fear and lots of worry and anxiety. And I'm not just speaking only about the change and the shifts that are happening as a result of the election system here in the United States. Of course, that all comes to our minds first and foremost, perhaps because it just was so recent, but just in general, also in general, right? Like the unknown that we feel like we're facing. I'm going to even talk about what's been going on with the planet. Not sure if you've all been following too many of the stories, but there's a lot of major planetary changes and transformations that have been happening, in addition to these very unusual storms and things that we've been having here in the US. There has been snow for the first time ever in history in the Arabian desert. There's been no snow on Mount Fuji, which has been for like hundreds of years, or something like a recorded history, for there to be like an entire month this time of the year with no snow on it. There's been like horrific floods in parts of Italy and things along that line. And these things have been something that have not just been predicted by scientists over the years, but they've been predicted in prophecies. These types of earth changes have been predicted in prophecies for millennia. And do those prophecies mean that something apocalyptic is happening? Do those prophecies mean that we have some kind of ability to then wake up? This is what I've always personally believed, is that we have some kind of ability to take them and to use them, so to speak, as opportunities to wake up and to be conscious co-creators in helping to heal our planet and helping to, again, bring unity with humans and the planet, right? So not just unity amongst ourselves, but also unity and unity consciousness with ourselves and with the planet. So it seems like, and again, I've done some channeling about this recently in private sessions, that we're at some kind of major turning point in our relationship with the planet, major turning point in our relationships with each other, major turning points in some kind of like some of the maybe bigger karmic or dharmic. In fact, I did some channeling recently last week, of which it was brought up that we were at a karmic inflection point, and I would like to ask more about that because it was a very intriguing message, but it was a short, just a short little bit about it ultimately in the bigger scheme of things. And I started this message, this introduction, going as far back as I did, giving you kind of this bigger picture, because we have to remember to put things into context. And sometimes when you're new to something and you've just been finding something out, or when you're new to like some of these concepts and you've only been hearing about or participating in like 4 or 5, 6, 7 years, you may not be able to even know, like maybe you don't even know the kind of the full context of things. And then there's the unity beyond the stuff that's happening right here in this little world. This is a tiny, tiny little, planet in the solar system, and our solar system is a very tiny little solar system in the galaxy. And when I was leading a retreat, an Archangel Michael retreat, that some of you listening may have been participating in Lake Louise back in September, which is one of the reasons why I got back from that, and I was too busy, and it really wasn't being called anyway, but there was just so many things kind of keeping me from being able to do a fall equinox global transmission. But when I was there, there was this message about like kind of putting everything into this bigger context, like how our even our solar system is this tiny little solar system and this very massive galaxy, and our galaxy is this very tiny little galaxy within this massive galactic supercluster. And if you don't know anything about the galactic supercluster, I highly recommend looking up the Lani Akea, Lani Lani Akea Akea, all one word, Lani Akea supercluster, and like really like look at that, because I think that also puts things in perspective for us, like puts things in context for us, like, oh, okay, here I am thinking that like it's only about me, or it's only about our country, or it's only about our planet, or it's only this is about something much bigger. And I think that's also what the one one is also trying to wake us up to, that we're not just one with each other, we're not just one with the earth, one with each other, one with the earth, right? We are also one with the universe, so to speak, one with the universe, and one with the divine. This is some of the revelation that's come to me about the four wands, right? The four oneness, right? The four one, and so FORE. Think of it that way, not FORE, FOR, right? FOR, four one. And this is a co-created energetic gateway that we've all worked to co-create together for our oneness, right? For our oneness, and that there are these levels in which we are one. That's more than just humanity, more than just our oneness with the earth. It's also our oneness with everything in all of creation and the universe, and with the divine and the spiritual world and all the beings of the spiritual world. The angels sometimes speak about beautiful messages about our oneness with them, right? That we experience even a oneness with them. And so it helps us, and we're facing the unknown, when we're facing, change and transformation, when we're facing things that, is going to require a lot of, just awareness, consciousness, focus, and definitely unity. It helps us to be able to, I think, put things in perspective and put things in context. And so that's why I chose to kind of do what I've done in the introduction here tonight, while I'm putting questions out to Archangel Michael. So one of my other questions that I'm asking him this evening is just anything else that he wants to tell us, not just about the oneness, not just about the unity, but also about the great shift of the ages that is happening. I know I've had some people reach out to me and ask me, are there two timelines going on? Is there like a parallel reality happening and going on? So I'm just putting that question out to him. Because I feel like he knows better, and he will actually speak on behalf of all of us. This is the other thing that I've really do as a channel, as I work to get myself out of the process as much as possible. All channels are filters, by the way, so I work to kind of cleanse that filter, clear that filter as much as possible, and get myself out of the way by being a deep trance channel, going into a deep meditative trance state, and letting that energy, just kind of my energy expanding out this way, letting that energy come through and come out through my voice. So it is my voice that you'll be hearing, but it's his energy that he's speaking. However, he's not just sending it to me, he's actually sending it to all of us, and that's why he calls it a transmission. He's sending it to the whole planet as a whole, all of humanity as a whole. Archangel Michael doesn't work with just one side of things. If people expect like Archangel Michael is going to pick sides, which side are you on? Which side? There's a lot of this, polarized thinking, polarized emotions. I experience it. We all experience it some way, shape, or form. We're all experiencing it to some degree, sometimes intensely, and it tends to like make us even think that the angels think like that, or they act like that. No, they're acting on behalf of all of us, right? They're acting on behalf of the highest good for all, especially when we're talking about beings like Archangel Michael. Right, when we're talking about beings like Archangel Michael, he's the archangel for all of humanity. He's the archangel for all of the earth. He's the archangel that's working at the highest level of the archangel realm to help us all, right? So don't expect or anticipate higher beings, dramatically, taking one side over another or picking one person's view or opinion over another. Instead, let's turn to them and look to them for healing. Let's turn to them like I wanted to do tonight also. I felt like, when I was also asking, what is this for? What is this about? I felt like it's also because there is healing that needs to happen. Healing and transformation, the angels have told me, are synonymous to them, right? Like we can't go through transformation without there needing to be healing. We can't heal without there being transformation. That's how synonymous that they say that they are. Healing ourselves is for our own wholeness, right? Like the oneness within. And that can be another way that we can relate to the oneness: body, mind, emotions, and spirit, right? Like the oneness of those, like body, mind, emotions, and spirit, that level of oneness, like being one within ourselves, so that we can actually be the co-creators that we're here to be, right? So those are the most important questions to me. I could probably come up with a bunch more, but those are the most important questions. Plus, just giving him again the question and the opportunity to feel free to speak to us about whatever it is that he feels is for our highest good right now. But to also just bring through that healing energy. Well, one more thing. I wanted to invite him. Sometimes they'll channel light language. Sometimes it'll be like through very fast spoken. It almost sounds like multiple languages all at once kind of being spoken. And sometimes it sounds more like singing or notes or tones or pitches or frequencies that they use my voice to make. And so they reveal that the light language is very healing frequencies. And they can really kind of help us to realign and to, connect with the highest sources of light. And I think that's also really important right now, that we stay very connected, and that we stay always, always, always connected with our hearts open. And so the two things I would like to do is two more things here is ask him to be just let him know that I'm welcome, and I'm open to him using my voice if he wants to bring through any light language or light language song for any of the healing purposes or transformational purposes. And then I do have one last question. I felt called to bring through there was a series of Archangel Michael messages on the topic of keeping your heart open, and this was his title, and the title is All Times and Always and Under All Circumstances. And I felt like a year ago he was asking me to publish those, and I did feel at the time that it was for that time, but it was actually for the time period that would be coming too. Like that was my intuition. Like there's a coming time that we all need this, that we're all going to need, what the teachings are in here. And this particular time period, now that we've been experiencing some of the big shifts that are taking place, this particular time period feels like at all times, in all ways, and under all circumstances, really applies to now, and how important it is to keep the heart open. So I'm asking him if there's anything else in addition to what might be written there that he might need to say to us, or guide us to, or point us to, as to how to keep our hearts open. Because there's the biggest fear we have of all, as human beings, I've found, like even the fear of death, even the fear of loss, even bigger than that, I have found, and in messages I've gotten it confirmed, that our biggest fear is change. Our biggest fear is transformation. And we need to be able to transmute, and we need to be able to transform, and we need to be able to be the co-creators in this reality that we are meant to be, because there's not just one group or one being or one person or one leader that is creating or co-creating our reality. We all are, the angels are always saying we are powerful, powerful co-creators, but we need to co-create with our hearts open. And this is part of the problem, is we're not doing that a lot of the times. So if there's anything further he wants to say on the topic of keeping our heart open, under all circumstances, in all ways, at all times, and under all circumstances, I welcome him to do that too. I think that's it. So I'm just going to share with you the process we're going to use tonight. The process is process that they gave me, and that they said that if I use it, it would always work. And the process is a process of invoking the divine and invoking the angels and getting all of you to participate in that as well. This works best for you to be able to receive any of the energy that he wants to send to you or connect with you if you actually participate in the whole process. So I'm going to describe what the process is for bringing through the transmission. So the process is for me and for all of you who want to get the most out of this to go through these 4 things that are done in 5 steps. So 4 things being done in 5 steps is the process. So there's praising, asking, thanking, and receiving. And then think of it as a circle: praising, asking, thanking, receiving. So then if it's a circle, we go back to praising again. So the 4 things that are done in 5 steps, like completing a circle. So the praising is an expression of love. It's not an ego boost or anything like that for the divine. It really is an act of love and a calling in the presence of the divine energy and the divine presence. And the angels gave me specifically many years ago this process, and they also gave me specifically a praise chant to use. And I use other praise chants at other periods of time. As an interfaith minister, I work with many, but I always use this one for whenever I'm working with them. And especially whenever I'm calling in a particular archangel, the name obviously changes as to which archangel it is that's being invoked, along with the names of the divine. So this Michael, it'll be a pronunciation of Archangel Michael's name that's called Michael, right? So Michael, 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 Adonai, Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Michael, Michael, Michael. This is ancient Hebrew. They're ancient Hebrew names for the divine. Even Archangel Michael's name includes an ancient Hebrew name for the divine. The El part, El, that you hear at the end of Gabriel, Raphael, Haniel, Jophiel, like that. El is the ancient Hebrew name for the divine. So Michael, when we're even just chanting that, and we're going to sing it, chant it together, you're all muted. You can't see. I can't see you. You can't see each other. So as long as you're in a place where you can participate and join in, I encourage you to do it out loud. Right, as I chant it, I encourage you all to chant it out loud as well. So Michael, 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 when we are chanting that, not only are we chanting the name for this this great archangel to come through, who many sacred writings say is the greatest of all of the archangel and the archangel realms, but we're also invoking the one or he who is like unto God, right? So that's what the name actually means. And this presence of the divine that Archangel Michael represents and carries. So then there's the Adonai Eloheinu and the Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu part. And again, these are all like ancient Hebrew names. You can kind of look them up yourself and look up the meanings of them. But the Elohim, the angels have said over the years that I've been using this, they say it's the aspect of God that's everywhere and in all things. So like God plural, right? Everywhere in all things, and they say that includes their realm as well. It includes all of us, and it includes their realm as well. So then after the praise, I'll guide us to go into the asking portion, which is continuing the invocation. And I'll kind of take us through the steps of that. And again, you're going to get the most out of it if you kind of go through the whole process and you experience the whole process. Many people tell me that they feel Archangel Michael's presence. Many people tell me that they feel him, speaking sometimes directly to them, that they feel like lighter afterwards. They feel maybe heaviness that they were feeling or fear that they were feeling lifted, or they feel safety or protection that comes to them afterwards, especially those who participate in the whole experience, right? And don't just try to listen as a witness or an observer. It's much deeper if you actually participate in the whole process. So then I'll guide us straight from the all of us, guide us all to do the steps of the asking into the thanking, and some specific instructions and things I'll guide through with some gratitude prayers. and then the invocation. And I'm sorry, I did the invocation, the thanking, and then the receiving, right? Then the receiving. And it's in the receiving that I'm going to ask everybody to go into just a quiet, relaxed, meditative state. Again, if you want to get the most out of it, participate by doing that, right? So I'll just say now, just everybody relax into a quiet, meditative, listening state. And so you can just kind of like, sit back, relax. You don't want to do this if you're driving in a car. Don't participate in the whole thing if you're driving or anything like that. You want to make sure you're somewhere where you can actually relax if you're going to participate at that level. And then that's when I go into the deep trance state and the message comes through. And then once it's finished, it's usually he says goodbye somehow, or just kind of the message stops. And then I'll guide us through the little bit of praise at the end. We'll just be doing Adonai Elohim by itself at the end. Those who are familiar with this, which is pretty simple to kind of move effortlessly through this process. But because I did tell you to invite friends and things, I'm just kind of explaining this process for people who might be new. And then at the end is when I can, when I first come up out of the trance state, I try to share with you anything that I may have saw, heard, or felt that went along with the message. Sometimes it's a little, sometimes it's a lot, sometimes it's completely transformational for me. And whatever it is, I'll try to share it as quickly as possible because it does fade from me pretty quickly. That's why even I need to go back and listen to the recordings. I'm hearing it at the same time that you're hearing it, and I am witnessing and seeing things if they are being shown, and feeling things, if and maybe even getting other auditory can go even addition to it sometimes. So it is a multi-sensory experience that I'm having, but it is when I'm in this deep trance state, like the place between sleep and waking state. So I don't always remember it either, right? So I'll be going back and listening to the recording myself. But then we'll be finished, and you all can ask questions at the end, and you can make comments and just any kind of statements or anything like that you want to make. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I just want to make sure that we have plenty of time here. Too. Okay, so we're going to sit back. And we're going to close our eyes. And we're going to begin by taking some long, slow, deep breaths in order to center ourselves. I'll begin with the praise chant, and you all can join in, preferably out loud, but if not, just join in silently. Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, 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 Adonai Elohim, Adonai Eloheinu, Mikael, Mikael, Mikael. Deep inhale and exhale. Now I'm going to guide us from the praising into the asking and invocation. The next step is to silently have all of you join me in calling upon the presence of divine love and divine light, invoking divine love and divine light in any way that feels right to you. And the next step is to ask that we be protected and connected by divine love and divine light. I want to have us use this as an opportunity to invoke a circle of oneness, a circle of love that unites us in oneness, a circle of light that unites us in oneness, and ask that we be protected and connected in our circle of oneness that we share with all of us gathered here today and all participating in this and all in creation. And let's silently or out loud, whatever feels right to you, call out specifically to Archangel Michael by name, having us all individually do so, asking him to be fully present with us and to use this as an opportunity to transmit to all of us and all upon the earth his wisdom, his light, his energy, his blessings, just whatever transmission to the entire earth and to all of humanity wishes to give at this time. I'll silently or out loud ask him to hear the questions that I've verbalized and to give us any answers or guidance or insight into anything pertaining to those questions. And then we're just going to give Archangel Michael our permission to speak freely about anything that he feels is for our highest good to know right now, that he feels is for our highest good to transmit. And then we're going to transition into our gratitude. First, we're going to send out a silent prayer of gratitude to Archangel Michael for all of who he is, all of what he does, and just everything that he does for us, known and unknown to us. Sending out our prayers of gratitude to Archangel Michael. And then our next gratitude prayer will be specifically sending out our prayer of gratitude directly to the divine. In any way we have that relationship with the divine, just offering gratitude for the blessing of life itself, as well as for any individual blessings in your personal life that you wish to send out gratitude for. And now we're finished with the thanking, and we're going to go now into the receiving. And so I invite you all to relax and deepen your breathing, relax into a quiet, meditative listening state in order to open yourselves to receive the message and receive the connection and transmission going from Archangel Michael directly to you. I'm going to go deeper now into my meditative trance state until the next words will be the energy that Archangel Michael is transmitting through me. The energy fields upon the earth are very accelerated right now, and that acceleration continues. The energy fields upon the earth are moving at a very accelerated rate, and they are very high, but they are also very dense, both simultaneously. I choose to speak at this time. It is the I, the Archangel Michael, coming forth, bringing through my energy to penetrate through these energies, to penetrate through the densities, and also to add my stabilizing energy to the quickening that I have been speaking about, the great quickening that I've been speaking out through this channel about for many, many years now. The quickening that I spoke about at the time of the summer solstice of this year, and at many other times. It is real. And it is not just affecting the earth. It is not just affecting your solar system. It is occurring on a much bigger, broader scale than all of you can know and all of you can realize. It is difficult enough for you to attempt to understand what is happening in your own personal lives, what is happening in your own world. We don't expect you to understand the greater aspects of the greater shifts that are taking place. But I can say that you all feel it. You're interpreting it, however, very different ways. Very different ways. And those differences, they are part of your diversity. They are part of your sacred uniqueness. Your differences do not divide you unless you allow them to. Your differences are a part of your diversity. This does not mean that those differences don't become problems, that there aren't differences that are very problematic, for there are. Indeed, you see that there are. Your differences are part of your unique individuality. I have spoken many times through this channel on what is one of the most important themes in your planetary transformation, your spiritual mastery, and what many would call the journey of enlightenment, the journey of ascension. I've spoken many times on a theme that is very important for all of you to understand. That you are simultaneously individuals and yet indivisible. And not just amongst yourselves, not just amongst humankind, but as this channel has explained, as she has learned and come to realize through the many exchanges that she has had with our realm and the things that we have shown her and given her. On all levels, this applies. That things are, and you are, individual and yet indivisible. You cannot do something individually that doesn't have an impact onto the whole, because you are part of a whole. Deny it or not, seek to understand it or not, embrace it or not. There is a universal truth that is built into the very fabric of creation. The truth of the whole, the truth of the one, the truth of the collective wholeness of all that is, the truth of the oneness that all that is. And it is not something that any of you individually can grasp solely and completely at this stage of where you are all at in your spiritual awakening and your evolutionary journey. But it is important to understand, and you can come to understand how what you do, the one individual, what you say, what you speak, what you choose, how it has a ripple effect into the whole of creation. Not just all human beings, not just all beings upon the earth, because everything is intertwined and interconnected. The one that you are is one with all that is. The one heart that exists within you is one with the one heart of all of creation and of all that is. And yes, you have been waking up to this slowly. And the quickening that is happening is accelerating that awakening of your individuality and your indivisibility, of your oneness as completely unique, whole individuals that are one with each other. And that there's nothing that you can do, nothing that you can say, nothing you can speak that does not have an influence on that whole, on that totality of the oneness that you share. Herein lies your power as co-creators, and you are so powerful as co-creators. And the only way is by giving your power over or not using your power. The only way to truly harm yourselves and harm others is to try to separate yourself, make yourselves think that you can be separate, live separate, act separate, that there is separation, when it truly is not something that you understand. The oneness of your individuality does not mean that there is sameness. You do not have to think the same, believe the same, act the same, agree the same, or agree on the same things in order for that greater collective oneness to be there. But what you must not do is give over your power, ever, by ignoring it or suppressing it or denying it, or by allowing anyone else to think that you don't have any anymore, or allowing someone else to think that they can take that from you. Because no one can take the power of the collective oneness from you, of the collective co-creators that you are from you. This message of oneness, I truly did want to deliver today. Because every year that goes by, you are co-creating more and more of these portals together. These gateways, these energetic gateways for shift and transformations together. And overall, it has been a very beautiful thing, but you have to remember your unity and your diversity. That you are one and yet you are not the same. And in that honoring of that, claim your power, use your power. You have great, immense power as co-creators. You don't just give power to your leaders, you don't just give power to your elders. You don't just give power to other people who are doing things that may seem powerful or feel powerful. You have power. The reason why you can give any power or influence to anyone or anything, including the power that you give to money, for example, you all give it the power that it has. It is collectively co-created, the power that it has. But the reason why you can give anything or anyone power is because you have the power to give. You have the power. You are a powerful co-creator. You have the power within you. You have the kingdom of heaven within you. You have the creator of all that is guiding within the heart of your heart, the source of all power, source of all creation, guiding within your heart, empowering you within your heart with immense power. And so at this time of your honoring the portal of oneness, that you all are creating the portal of transitioning into unity consciousness, that you all are collectively co-creating, do not be deceived into thinking that you are powerless. Do not let your emotions overwhelm you into giving up your power or being afraid of your power or being afraid of someone else being more powerful than you. Be resolute. Use the virtue of resolve to be resolute in using your power wisely, beautifully, lovingly, compassionately, graciously, humbly, even when you do not see others doing the same. Even if you do not feel that a large percent of others are not doing the same. And it's amazing how many of you actually feel that that's the case. There aren't two sides to things. There truly aren't. All of creation and all of who you are within creation is a circle that is a spiral. A circle on a circling spiral has not two sides. There is a spectrum, always, an infinity that is a spectrum. And you all fall at different places along that spectrum. That includes in your views and your ideologies and your beliefs and your theologies, and how that manifests in your very real day-to-day lives. It's a very wide and broad spectrum, actually. And one side of the spectrum, or one part of the spectrum, or another part of the spectrum, isn't good nor bad. It's all how you use your energy. It's all what you do with your oneness to influence the oneness, to create in the oneness, that determines whether it is helpful or harmful. And I want to speak very much to those who are the light workers. The vast majority of you receiving this transmission now, the vast majority who will receive this transmission through the ways that it will be shared, are light workers. This is a term that those of us assisting the planet from the very beginning of time have understood in different ways, and we've had different names to use to describe those of you who now we call light workers. The light is the eternal light of your soul. The worker aspect is to indicate that you've come here to be of service. That the eternal soul that you are, as part of your very soul purpose, your very soul mission, your very soul creation, as souls of light, eternal souls of love and light, as this is the nature of your soul. Here to serve the light, the light of all creation. Not what one person thinks of as light or translates as light or uses their own interpretation of what is light and what is not light. One of the messages that I wanted to deliver, and I choose to deliver at this time, of oneness, at this time for unity consciousness, is that those of you who are the light workers, the souls, eternal souls, who are here to be of service in bringing love and light to this planet, this is a time of unity for all of you. And it is very important that you not allow your unity consciousness or your oneness that you share as a collective group of souls upon the planet, no more special than any souls, just unique in your own service. You are no more special than any other souls. I wish to make this very, very clear, because I am also deeply aware of many who are awakening as light workers, who take that to feel as if they are more important than others or more special than others. And it's simply not the case. That is ego and shadow. You all have your individual and yet indivisible roles to play. You are part of the greater oneness, and you are also one as a collective of souls. Those of you who are light workers, and there are many souls who are not, who are equally as special in their own ways, but those of you who are light workers, you have a mission, you have a collective mission, you have a collective purpose. And all of us in the angelic realm, and all of us in the realm of guides and guardians and masters that are working with you, want to assure that you are working with each other and not against each other. And this is something that I want to bring to light, bring to awareness. You must work together. You are one collective, but you all fall on different parts of the spectrum. And that doesn't make one part of the spectrum more important than the other part of the spectrum. And there is light and there is shadow in all parts of the spectrum. And there is light and there is shadow in all of you, in all of humanity. As long as the light of your soul is interacting with matter, until you've reached full enlightenment, there will be shadow. And this period that you all are entering into is a time period of great karma clearing, karmic time, and a karmic coming forth of the shadow. So the shadow in all of you can be seen. So that the shadow in the collective oneness can be transmuted. But is that being done on one side or the other, or one part of the spectrum or the other? No, it's all of it. It's the whole. It's the entirety of it. There are light workers who will understand this and not be afraid to be who you are, to play your role within the oneness that you all share. And then there are those that are judging and condemning others and other light workers and other souls in general. And this does not fit with the universal laws. The universal laws cannot be broken. There is no way that the universal laws can ever be broken. They protect you all. Have confidence in that. Be forever reassured by that. Operate with them. Choose to align with them. To live in harmony with them. Help each other through the shadows. Sometimes that means calling out the shadow, using your voice to speak out, whether it is the shadow that is presenting itself in a person or in a project, anywhere. And if it's truly shadow, holding the light in a non-judgmental way, in a non-critical way that stays true to the values of virtue, will truly bring it to light and will truly allow for it to be fully transmuted from the shadow into the light. You are not all here to create oneness. You are one. You are one. You are to co-create in your oneness. You are here to do that. In addition to there being light workers who now are recognizing that you now cross as it is and as it always has been, but you're just now recognizing the full spectrum of all views, of all understandings, of all interpretations of reality and perspectives of reality. It is also equally important to understand that there are also souls that choose to not be light workers, but truly are shadow workers. That this is a choice that they have made. Just as there is a choice that all light workers have made to come and to be of service. There are those that have come and chosen for this lifetime to be those who are not willing to move out of the shadow, but they feel most comfortable creating and co-creating within it. they feel most comfortable projecting it. Those who are the shadow workers, it is very important to not be also in a consciousness of division and divisiveness, to be in a consciousness of us versus them. You feel that as if there is a struggle. You feel as if there is a great battle or struggle taking place between the light and dark or light and shadow. You feel it this way. But I am to remind you, as the archangel that knows this better than any others, as the archangel who is most known for being able to use my light to transmute the shadow and to protect others from all that is within the shadow, your own and the collective shadow in others. I am to tell you that it's not a battle the way that you think of it. Not the way that you think of it. And not that all of you, the way that all of you think battling to be. The opposite forces of duality. Just like the opposites of magnetism. Think of that as an example. They oppose each other. They truly are opposites. They repel each other, and they draw each other and attract each other, both simultaneously. This is one of the best analogies I can give you. The analogy of magnetism and how it works. And sometimes the magnetic force on light can make it seem as if there is this great struggle. If you take two powerful magnets and you put them together in one way, they attract. If you put them together in another way, they forcefully push each other apart. The stronger the magnet, the stronger the force of that opposition, the stronger the force. And it can feel so strong that it can even feel like they are even battling forces with each other. There's so much that you do not understand about the way that light and magnetism work and interact with each other, the way that light itself works, the way that magnetism itself works. You don't even really understand, even scientifically, what magnetism even is, let alone the interaction that it plays in the relationship that it has with light. Is magnetism bad and light good? No. No. Absolutely not. Are they different? Completely. Completely different. Are they both parts of the whole, of the oneness, of all that is? Absolutely yes. It is the magnetic force of opposites that feels as if you are battling and pushing each other away, that feels as if it is a struggle as you attempt to try to unite in that magnetic energy. And the more you fight to try to push it, the stronger the pushback is. And it feels like a great struggle. And you can push and you can push and you can push and you can keep fighting. And yet those two poles still won't unite. And so it makes you think that they're hopelessly divided, that they will be hopelessly divided, and that it's impossible for them to be united. Flip those magnetic poles, and you'll see exactly the opposite. How at the same time, there are those opposing forces, there is the attractive forces that pulls. That is a strong and powerful force pulling those poles together, pulling those energies together. And the stronger the magnet and the magnetic energy, the harder it is to even try to separate them or divide them. Both of these are true simultaneously. We weep for humanity sometimes. Tears of joy, but not the way that you weep. We celebrate mostly. But there's times in which we feel passionate. I and all of the others serving humankind. That it is so important that you wake up to realize you are not enemies. You are not separate. You are not in some horrible battle between the light and shadow. Not the way that you're thinking about it. So many of your books and your stories and your movies and certain prophecies especially that have informed that way of thinking about good and bad and light and shadow, positive and negative. How polarized things have become. Is where much of the problem lies. And applying unity consciousness to reconciling that polarization is where the solutions lie. The solutions to all of the polarization that has taken place, to all of those who are battling as if it is a war. I do not battle any one or anything or any force as if it is a war. The way that I serve the light is knowing that the light of all that is, the light that has no shadows, the light that casts no shadows, a light that is so all-encompassing that it in no way, shape, or form could even contain a shadow. That light, that origin light, that source light, that divine light truly is everywhere and in all things. So when I transmute something into the light, it's just a return to that source, a return to that, an evoking and a returning back to that source. That is the light that casts no shadows and has no shadows. It doesn't exclude anyone or anything.
There is one presence of the divine. There is one source of all that is, for all that is. There is one God, one truth, one creation. But it's not owned by any one individual, person, place, group, ideology, theology. It cannot be possessed by the individual. The individual is indivisible within it. And the universal principles and the divine energies known as the virtues, they are what you all must use. But not using them to do any type of spiritual bypassing where you use positive thinking to spiritually bypass over the true practice of a virtue. But using them to co-create with the power that you have within the oneness that you share. There is not one thought that you have that does not affect the one. There is not one word that you speak that does not affect the one. There is not one action that you take that does not affect the one. There's not one emotion that you have and that you hold and that you circulate or that you generate. You think it stays within you, but it does not. Your emotions are energy in motion, and that energy doesn't just circulate and spin and spiral within you. It spins and spirals within all of creation. It spins and spirals out into collective energy fields that interconnect to everything within the one and the oneness that you are and that you have and that you share eternally, not just now, not for just this moment in time, of which I can assure you, this moment in time, as important as it is, as key and pivotal as it is, which is why it is so important for you to own your power, use your power, co-create with your power, with your energy, and together as the light workers that you are on all parts of the spectrum. Because this is but one moment in time, an important inflection point, yes, in your human story and in your relatively short recorded history. But one instant in the eternality of the oneness and of who you are as souls. Be true to your soul. Stand strong and resolute in your light and your power as the eternal soul that you are. Stand for truth. Speak truth. There is subjective truth and objective truth. It is very important to honor both, to know the difference between both, and to have clear and strong discernment about both. Your subjective truth is your truth. But not just the truth of your emotions, not just the truth of your minds and your thoughts and your conditioning and your educations, not just the truth of what others have told you or what you've seen in your shared interactions and communications with each other. Your truth, the truth of your heart, the truth of your soul. and your interpretation of that truth. But understand that it is oftentimes the interpretation that becomes the problem. And the solution is to always seek to understand the whole, the bigger, the broader understanding of even your own personal truth, your subjective truth. That's your truth. Even seek to understand that in bigger and broader ways. But remember that it does not exist outside of objective truth, just like the two parts of the magnet, just like the two parts of yin and yang, and the polarities and dualities of this world. They do not exist separately from each other. Objective truth is also a part of the whole, a part of the oneness of the reality that you all are part and parcel of. Objective truth, it really does exist. And this is what your scientists have sought and are seeking to understand. It is also what deep spiritual seekers come to know and realize when the universal truth is understood. Universal truth that applies to all, not just a few, not just one group or another. Both are important. Both are part of the whole, the oneness that you share. And I will say what I've told this channel many, many times when it comes to understanding objective truth and subjective truth. There is truth in everything, but not everything is true. And this is what you're waking up to as well. All of you, the whole collective of humanity. But you're in the very beginning infancy stages of waking up to it. And it's so much more complex than you think. It's so much more complex than even I have been able to speak about it or reveal. And there's more to reveal about that, as well as how you co-create. There's more that you're waking up to about that. It has very much to do with the shadow and the presence of the shadow within everyone. Again, when light interacts with matter, a shadow is created. Shadow is not the absence of light. It exists only in the light. It exists only because of the light. There is no darkness that is devoid of the light. Even when you look up into the night sky and you see the stars, you are only seeing visible light. The darkness that appears as if it is the darkness of space, in between those pinpoints of visible light, it is not devoid of the light, it is filled with light. Light in all other kinds of frequencies that are not visible to your eyes, which is why your astronomers can put on filters on their astronomical devices and see in the infrared spectrum things that cannot be seen in any other way, see in the ultraviolet spectrum things that cannot be seen in any other way. And there's so much more to the spectrum than you all have realized. Even what your scientists call dark energy and dark matter, it is not dark because it is devoid of the light. It is dark because you call it that way because it is unknown. It is unknown. But I can assure you, it is a whole other type of light. Very different type of light. Not the devoid of light, not the absence of light. Shadow. Even the shadow of those of you who are receiving this message, and it is nighttime outside. That nighttime is not the absence of light, it is the shadow of the matter of your planet interacting with the visible light of your sun. But the sun still shines, always, no matter how dark it may be outside. The sun has never stopped shining, and it will not stop shining. And every night gives way to day, and every day gives way to night, in a sacred cycle of natural rhythms that your bodies trust and your biorhythms are completely set to. I share all of this from my heart as a plea from my heart to your heart. Do not close your hearts. Hate, for example, is such a strong and powerful thing that it can cause one's heart to recoil. No matter where it's coming from, no matter what it's directed towards or whom. You can keep your heart open and transmute it, transform it, and transcend it. And completely change it through transformation. But you don't transform or transmute the energy of hate with hate or fear. The only power, and all of the wise ones who've walked amongst you and lived amongst you and been spiritual teachers and spiritual leaders and leaders of all types amongst you who've known this wisdom, the only power to transmute it and transform it is the power of love, is the power of compassion. Do you love the hate? No. No. But you apply love to the situation. You apply love in whatever way you can into the situation. And you use the loving energy within you to make choices as to how to co-create a different world where hate and violence and prejudice and greed and all of the vices are transmuted through the power of the virtues. Not in a battle between vice or virtue. There is no such thing. The virtue is the light. The vices are the shadow, but they're not the shadow of the light, of the virtues. Nothing is equal in them to power, is what I mean. The vices are not equal to them. And I've been teaching this for many months now, many messages. And I will conclude my message today. By raising the vibration of the planet and all of you. Through sending love to all of you. When a child is acting in the vices, applying those virtues teaches them a new way. And so I send it to all of the children of Earth, all of the children of the divine. You are all children of the light. Whether you're operating in it or not, whether you're feeling it or not, whether you believe it or not, you are all children of the light. That's the end of the message. Let's just take a moment to say a silent prayer of thankfulness and appreciation for the message. And for the Archangel Michael. And then I'm going to bring the process full circle just by doing Adonai Elohim praise here at the end very quickly. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. Adonai Elohim, Adonai Elohim. And then I'm going to fully come up out of the meditation and invite you all to fully come up out of the meditation. As I'm coming out of it, there were a lot of visuals that went with this. So many is too many to describe, but all of the interactions with light he describes, I was seeing visuals in the different types and qualities of light that he's describing. I was seeing, and it's almost as if you could put on the filter of being able to look in the night sky like he was describing. I was having a very amazing visual of like if we could put on all the filters that would be necessary and be able to see that through our mind's eyes or see that through our physical eyes. You know, it's just filled with like the whole thing. Like it's all these different frequencies and qualities of light and spectrums of light and frequency. And it's just filled like it's if we look up to the night sky and just kind of see it. But I don't see, whenever I get images like that, I don't see
it all just in the colors that we see through visible light. Like, it's interesting. I was guided to wear the rainbow scarf tonight. The seven major colors and all the kind of blaze that they blend together of visible light, which is what we can see with our physical eyes. I see colors that don't even exist to our physical eyes. This has been something that I've seen sometimes through the help with the angels many, many years. Even since my childhood, I remember seeing colors that I can't describe to you because there's not something I can point to. I can't point to a color and say like that. It's like colors that we can't see with our physical eyes. Um, I saw an infinity symbol moving. I think it might even been a point where my fingers might have even lifted up and created it. I don't know if it was in towards the beginning or whatever, but my hand might have even moved. It was so deep in the trance state, I don't know. It's possible. Sometimes sometimes they can move my hands as well. To see this like infinity symbol of like the infinity of the soul, the eternality of the soul, the infinity of this oneness, and even the infinity of the different dualities, and the infinity symbol not just being this side or this side, two parts, but like again, kind of filled in. The infinity symbol was like a spectrum, like a rainbow spectrum of like all the colors that we could possibly, create or have that's visible to us. And then again, it was like other frequencies too. It was like this spectrum. I can't describe it, but it wasn't like a black and white type of infinity symbol. It was like, and where we all fall, and then the spectrum was also a spectrum of ideologies and beliefs and views and all that stuff. It's like that's all part of like where we are on the spectrum. But we normally would think of a spectrum, and even if a scientist usually they might draw a line, right? Like when they draw the light spectrum, they draw a line with a light spectrum. Um, but this spectrum that I was seeing was an infinity symbol. So it was this infinity symbol, and all these places along it that were and the places that were filled with these different parts of the spectrum. So that was a really amazing. I've never quite seen that the way that appeared. I've seen the infinity symbol obviously before, but and then also for him to describe the spectrum the way he was describing where we fall in our views and yet in that oneness of infinity, right? So it seems like it was a long message. I'm looking at the clock now, and now I'm looking. Yes, it was a long message. I guess he had a lot to say. I actually felt that he had even more to say. But he tried to shorten it. He actually tried to end it once. That was funny, and then that can happen sometimes. He kind of went on into something else entirely. I think he answered some of my questions and some of them not. I was kind of hoping for the light language to come through, but it wasn't something that he felt like doing. I was aware that at one point it wasn't something that he felt was appropriate. So yeah, so that all took place. Any kind of, I know we're kind of going over on our time here, but any kind of questions, comments that any of you have, now is the time to put it into the chat. You can just make a comment, even if it's just a comment to say goodbye or whatever you'd like to say, or if you have a question, I'll go and take a look at it. Real quickly before I do, though, while you're doing any typing, I'm trying to think if there was anything else because it starts to fade very, very quickly. I've never heard in all the years I've been channeling Archangel Michael, consciously knowing that it was Archangel Michael since 1993, but I was channeling him, I believe, before, just not knowing that that's who the angel was that was coming through. But consciously, in which he asked me to be a conscious channel, I've never heard him or even any of the other angels make a plea to light workers the way that he's doing. To make sure that we are working together, co-creating together, and not in any way, shape, or form, disrespecting each other or judging each other or condemning each other, which may be easier said than done. Oftentimes, a lot of these things that when it's like coming through, obviously it's easier said than done. But the instruction is there, the wisdom is there, I think one of the things that always amazes me is just like, oh, okay, yes, like it's like these kind of aha moments we can have if we really work with the teachings that he's giving us and kind of keep taking it to heart. So, all right, so I'm going to start to look at some of the comments now that people are putting into the chat and be able to look at this. Good evening, thank you. And people introducing themselves. Thank you for introducing yourself, Lalita. And then some thank yous. Powerful message. Yes, I very much agree. Um, another thank you. And then thank you for your work in and of the light. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Let's see, I think I went too far. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Really needed to hear this message. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm making a recording right now. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording so it doesn't have to be extra long. Go ahead and do that right now quickly.